guess what? I have been a foreigner living in the UK for 10 years. Yay! And how did I celebrate my 10-year anniversary in the UK? By getting tonsillitis. Hi everyone, it's me. If you're new here, my name is Alanna and I'm a Canadian, but I live here in the UK for 10 years. And if you're not new here, hey, how's it going? I am ill. Yes. I don't want this whole video to be about my sickness. I've been sick for the last 2 weeks. I haven't done anything. I haven't filmed. I haven't left this couch. I think I still sound quite sick. I am sick. Tonsillitis, that's how it started. Now we're just in a classic illness. Won't get, too in depth, but let me just say, pus. And leave it at that. But it is my 10-year anniversary and I did want to sit down and chat with you guys. I don't have like a script or anything, but I just wanted to share my honest thoughts, my genuine reaction to the last 10 years living here in the UK. And I'm gonna cut out all of the sniffling and the coughing. Hopefully. I also want to do a 10-year Q&A. So while you watch this video, if you have a question or something comes to mind, whatever, leave a comment or rather leave a question on this video and then all the questions will get answered in that 10-year Q&A that I'm going to do like in a couple of weeks. So I guess we should rewind to winter 2015 and let's just call this the beginning. Now I moved to England at 22 for a guy. I know. 1 second. Anyway, off to a good start. I didn't watch YouTube. I wasn't on social media. I was very much like not really online, which is kind of hard to believe, but I didn't do any sort of research. I didn't watch any like content creator, expat people to kind of like get an idea of what it would be like. I literally just moved. So I had no real understanding of what it is that I was doing, what I was getting myself into. And let me just say, wow. Not what I expected. For me as an anxious person, I don't know really what I was expecting. Everything was difficult. Everything took longer. Anxiety just every day was like 10 out of 10 for months. And that is just extremely exhausting. Even really simple tasks like getting groceries. So I would go to Asda, I'd go to Sainsbury's and I would need bread. And I'm standing at the bread and there's like dozens of different types and I don't know any of these brands. I don't know like which ones I prefer or like do I like medium, do I like thick? Like I have no idea. So everything just took so much longer because I'm having to like read and like, okay, do I want this brand or maybe this is a bit more expensive. It just, everything took so much longer. I didn't have a smartphone, so things like public transport was new to me. I had never taken the bus in Canada. I had only ever driven. So now I'm having to learn like, how does the bus work? How do I buy tickets? Because I didn't have the smartphone, I could never tell like, when's the bus? Like, is it late or is it just not arriving? It was just everything. I think back to this time. It was a hot mess. And I tried to be very blunt and honest about this experience for any expats that happen to be watching and maybe they're trying to suss out, if they want to do something like this. I just want to be very, very blunt, very genuine. I did not have a good time. I did not have a good time. I moved in the winter time, which also was like pretty ballsy because winter in England sucks. But I didn't want to admit to myself that, I didn't like it. I didn't want to verbalize that. I didn't want to say that out loud, be like, have I made a mistake?
I've made a huge mistake.
Because on one hand, I didn't want to give up that easily. I had made this whole big thing. Like I quit my job and I sold my car and I moved to England and I didn't want to give up that easily. And I also didn't want people to think that I had failed and I went back home immediately. So I was like, you know what? I don't like this. But I'm going to try. I think at this point in my life as well, I was also hit with another sort of like life revelation that I think all of us will go through is that being an adult is kind of boring. So every day I would wake up, I had to take 2 buses to work 9 to 5. I would walk to a gym, work out for a little bit, wait for a bus. Sometimes the bus didn't show up. I'd get home, I'd shower, I'd have dinner, I'd watch a little bit of TV, maybe The Chase reruns, and then I'd go to bed. And I did that every day. And I think at this point, 22, I just kind of had that realization of like, oh, this is like not very fun. The next period I would say is kind of like, this is sort of stupid to say, but it sort of felt like the fog lifted. So obviously moving to England in the winter time, wow, threw myself in the deep end and it sucks. Even now, I do not like the winter when it's dark and gray. Today is a beautiful, bright, sunny day of which I won't be going outside. But after sort of 5-6 months, the weather is obviously improving and it's much nicer just like existing in England. And I was starting to figure things out. I was starting to figure out which things I liked at the grocery store and how my bus worked. And I was settling in at my job. And so the fog started to lift and I noticed that my day-to-day anxiety was coming down and I felt like more normal. Things weren't easy necessarily, but they weren't as hard anymore. At this point, I had made a couple of friends. I also enrolled at a college and I was doing distant learning for HR. So I was like working during the week and I was studying on the weekends, making friends. I was feeling like a bit more at home. I was kind of like finding my place still. This next era / chapter in my life, I would call lonely and directionless. I was settling in, but I still felt like pretty lonely. Being an adult is kind of lonely. I was away from everything and everyone I've ever known. And I also felt very directionless is the best way to put it. I had no career ambition. I never have. I had no 5-year plan. I really felt like I had left my home, left college, and I was working back home, but it wasn't really real life yet, I think. And now it was like the training wheels are off and I am just out here as an adult with no direction. I gotta figure it out for myself. And one night, it's so funny what a rabbit hole deep dive evening on YouTube will do for your life. One night I was on YouTube, which I didn't really watch YouTube that much back then. And I found this creator, an American living in South Korea, Megan Bowen. And I was immediately hooked. A large part of her videos were her just sitting in her apartment on the floor after a long day of work, just talking about her experiences of living in South Korea, the good, the bad, the funny, the embarrassing, and just being like so honest and genuine about it. And I was so inspired. And I thought, well, maybe I could try this. So at this point, I had a website, I had a blog called Adventures in Naps. I was a journalist back in Canada. I've always loved to write. And so when I moved here, I started Adventures in Naps as a written diary kind of thing. And I had been writing articles about my experiences and about my time and that kind of stuff. But I thought, well, maybe I could try videos. Maybe 1 week is a video, 1 week is a written blog, but I can kind of like experiment and I could share my experiences as a foreigner in the UK in this sort of format. And Adventures in Naps as a weekly YouTube channel was born. Obviously, Adventures in Naps, this YouTube channel is one thing, and my life in England obviously is another thing, but they're so intertwined that I can't really talk about my 10 years here without talking about Adventures in Naps. And when I was thinking about this video and some of the things maybe I'd like to talk about, I realized, and this is really cheesy and it's kind of embarrassing, but it's not embarrassing. It is 100% real. Adventures in Naps is one of the most pivotal points in my life to date. I had no idea watching Megan Bowen film those videos in her apartment in South Korea would inspire me, and then my life totally pivoted from that point. Obviously, in the moment, I didn't realize how important it would be, but now looking backwards, this Adventures in Naps creation is one of the single most pivotal moments in my life. So in this era of Adventures in Naps, the early days, I was still working full-time, 9 to 5. I was studying HR on the weekends, and then I was also making weekly videos. And honestly, I was hooked right away. It was so much fun, and it felt like I had this creative purpose. I had this direction. I had this project that was fulfilling and rewarding, and it was something that I could think about and plan, and I just genuinely, right from the get-go, had so much fun. And while I was having so much fun, the videos weren't always well received. There is one I know exactly which one. I did these 2 videos, like 5 things I love, 5 things I hate, right? And they're just like very basic stuff, like no air con. And I specifically remember I had grown British people commenting on the 5 things I hate, basically saying I'm the worst thing that's ever happened to England, that I should F off back to where I came from, you should kill yourself, like just vile, vile comments. But I kept going. And to be fair, I still get those comments every day. I get the messages, you know, you should F off back. If I say anything even slightly critical about the UK, you should go back to where you came from, yada, yada, yada. I still don't care. And I'm still here. But at this time, Adventures in Apps grew so quickly. Like, actually looking back, obviously I had no idea what I was doing. Having done YouTube now for a while, it is quite shocking how fast Adventures in Apps grew and how much it took off. And the support and the kindness from people and like the joy that it gave me to make this stuff and people, it was just a really incredible experience. Now, I do keep some of my personal life private. I don't think it's really healthy to just unload every secret about yourself on the internet. Some people disagree with that. That's fine. I don't care. So I do try to keep some of my private life private, but I will say at this point, the partner that I moved to England for, that I quit my job and I sold my car and I moved here for, told me that I should quit Adventures in Apps, that it was a waste of time and that I shouldn't do it, and was not supportive. And as an adult, looking back at that makes me so sad. And it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling, but I kept going. It was something that was really important to me and felt really rewarding and inspiring and joyful, and I wanted to keep going, and I did. And honestly, then from this point, my life changed. I know this is cheesy and I know this is cliche, but it's the truth. And with that, we start a new chapter. So I really came into myself as an adult, as Alanna. I discovered who I was. Still a work in progress, but in this time, I really thought, you know what? I can figure out what I want and I can go for it. I'm still terrified to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So in this period, I got a new job, something I'd never done before, like in this industry. I really put myself out there, and I actually used Adventures in Apps as part of my resume. I said, hey, I taught myself this. I've done this by myself while studying and working full time. I can do anything for you guys. Teach me anything, I will learn it, I will do it, I'm committed, blah, blah, blah. And I got that job. I also started driving. At this point, I had relied totally on public transport. Driving in the UK was really scary. I had driven in Canada basically my entire teenage life. You have to drive in Canada, but here I was really afraid. And it was at this point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn how to drive here. I got a crappy little car and I started driving. And I only scratched a car once. It was the first day of practicing. I scratched a BMW. Yes. I started really putting myself out there. I started really going after the things that brought me joy and that I was creative and excited about, learning new things even if they were scary, making more friends, and really like making England my home rather than trying to fit maybe a mold set for me by other people. It was like, no, this is what I want. And then after all of that, I met the love of my life, who is my biggest supporter, who, I don't want to cry. I think it's all the Lemsip that I've had, but we never would have met had I not put myself out there and had I not said, you know what, I'm gonna build the life that I want, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do the things that are scary, and I'm going to just, you know, like we never would have met otherwise. And it's just, it's funny how life turns out. Now let's skip a couple of years and come to present day. I am very proud of the life I built, and looking back, when I was thinking about this video and actually like looking back and sort of not criticizing, what's the word I want, like dissecting a little bit, like reflecting on my life in the last 10 years. I have really built this myself, and I'm very proud of that. Adventures in Apps has turned into a full-time job, and for that I am unbelievably grateful for. I get to do what I love week in and week out. It's now been about 8 years, I want to say. I didn't start right away. but about 8 years out of this 10-year experience. I do worry about, what will happen when the channel ends. All creative projects, come to an end at some point, but I try not to dwell on it too much. The channel is healthy. I'm not quite healthy, but I'll be healthy soon, and I'm just very grateful. I'm really proud of what I've created, and I'm also extremely touched by the community here. I know I talked about like getting nasty comments, and I still get that, but they are so like drowned out by all the nice, wholesome, funny, encouraging, supportive comments from you guys. And if you've been with me for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, it's really been a journey, and none of this would have happened if it wasn't for your support. So honestly, truly, thank you. I can't describe it. I don't want to cry again, all right? We've cried enough today. But it has been life-changing. Now, unfortunately, 10 years has come, and how have I celebrated? Not really. I haven't left the house. This is the first time that I've worn non-pajamas in about 2 weeks. Haven't left the house in 2 weeks. I haven't filmed in 2 weeks. I've really missed sitting here and chatting. I'm starting to lose more of my voice, but a little bit longer. I can go a little bit longer. One thing that I have been able to do at home, and I've genuinely really enjoyed it, is playing the Detective Box, who have sponsored this video. So the Detective Box is a murder mystery whodunit interactive board game. I've had so much fun doing this. I've been thinking about it while I'm not playing it, but basically you get all of these items, like shredded paper, a notebook, a yearbook, pieces of documents and interviews, but there's also like this interactive element on your computer. There's interviews, there's videos, there's like lots of interactive stuff, and you have to solve this murder. And it has been so much fun. It's the only thing that I've really been able to do since I've been at home and sick. We haven't finished it yet. It is tricky. It is challenging. It's not impossible, but it is tricky. So if you like puzzles, like murder mystery, kind of like that sort of vibe, honestly, you are going to love it. And where it's tricky, we'll get stuck for a bit, and you're like thinking about it, and then it's like when you get it and you're like, oh my god, we should do this, and then it works out. It's the best feeling ever. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, it may be a gift for Christmas, or a gift for yourself, or something to do when you're in that like weird Christmas period when it's like you don't know what day it is. We aren't even halfway through. It's a lengthy one. It's been really fun. But if that's something that you want to try, make sure you use my code ADVENTURE10 and you get 10% off your order. But I've really been enjoying it. I've done a couple of like escape room at home type games, and it's kind of like that, but I like this more because it's like, it's so interactive with videos and audio and like clues, and it doesn't hold your hand. It's really, really fun. Anyway, Adventure 10 if you want to try it out. Okay, so my butt is going to sleep. Let's just mosey on over here. And my next chapter that I'd like to talk about is, it's not all good. Living in a foreign country is obviously not easy. It's not all great. I try to be very blunt and honest about that stuff because I don't want to misrepresent this experience, because yeah, it has not been all great. The beginning was definitely a real shock to me. I think also being introverted and like anxious made it that much more difficult. It's not impossible, obviously, because I've done it, but it was tough. I also cannot begin to explain the pain, the difficulty, the confusion, the stress around visas, which is seemingly only going to get more difficult. And like stressful doesn't even really begin to cover it. There's also been, just like personal life events in the last 10 years that have been terrible. Relationship, a heartbreak, and that sort of vibe. Friendship stuff, personal stuff. My dad died. That's a big one. So it's kind of like you have all of these life events that everyone goes through, like awful, awful experiences, right? But you're doing it on hard mode because you've chosen to live in a foreign country. Does that make sense? I have had some British people who, when they, out and about, when they hear my voice, obviously not this one, not the sick one, when they hear my accent and they realize that I'm not from here, I do have people treat me differently in a more negative way. That is unavoidable. Unfortunately, there's always going to be people like that. Largely not the case. I find British people on the whole are very funny and wholesome and silly and lovely, but it does happen. I remember once I was leaving the cinema and I was talking to my friend, and there's a bunch of teenagers and they yelled at us effing Yanks and then like taunted us. But teenagers in any country are kind of horrible. Now throughout this whole experience, I have definitely aged in real time. I've aged on the internet, which is weird. It is weird to go back and see my old videos when I look like a baby. But over this time, both on the internet as a foreigner and just aging as a human being, there's definitely been a lot of life lessons that I've learned. And what comes to mind are two sort of like personal mottos that I carry with me. The first one is everything is a learning experience. Even the bad experiences, even the heartbreak and the crying and the fighting and the terrible stuff that happens in life and the bad stuff and the traumatic stuff, everything can be a learning experience. There's always something to be gained, something positive to be gained from a situation that either helps you the next time you have to do it or helps you avoid those situations in the future. But everything is a learning experience. I have found to be extremely positive, and it also kind of helps me reframe, like if I'm going through something really horrible or something traumatic, and it's like, okay, well, take a deep breath, pause. There are things that we can learn from this. And I do find that like reframing to be really helpful for me. And the other life motto, so I've grown up on the internet. I've definitely matured into more of an adult. I know who I am now. I am more confident. I am more self-assured in who I am and what I want and where I'm going and all that fun stuff. But that doesn't mean that I'm not anxious and I'm not scared. But the motto that I've come up with, and it's the thing that I play in my mind, is do the thing scared. There will never be a perfect time for everything or like the right time to do something. I will be frightened, I will be scared, I will be anxious, but I will just do the thing anyway. And I found that to be, especially as an anxious person, perhaps you are an anxious person, I find that to be extremely helpful. Just do the thing scared. The last 10 years have been a roller coaster. I think that goes without saying it, but I'm saying it anyway. Up and downs, highs and lows, good and bad, exciting and boring, and wonderful. And if you've been with me over this last 8 years on YouTube, I really, truly, honestly, it has been life-changing, and that has been because of your support. So honestly, thank you. I don't know what the future holds. A couple of things that I would like in the future, near or distant, to be healthy. My mom's coming to visit next week, and I hope we have a lovely Christmas. Perhaps British citizenship next year. And then who knows? Big shout out to Detective Box for sponsoring this video and giving me entertainment when I've been stuck at home this last week. Don't forget to use my code ADVENTURE10 to get 10% off your order. And please don't forget, if you're still here, you're still sat here, thank you so much. Don't forget to leave a question and I will do a Q&A video in the next couple of weeks. And I think that is kind of all the things I want to say. Although I know once I turn this off and I walk away, I'll think of other things. But for now, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to watch something else, how about this one? This has been my latest visa drama. It's been a whole thing. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, bye!